All right, here we go, boys and girls. First off, how you like the outfit? This is parent-teacher conference night, and I got about an hour with no conferences, so I figured I'd shoot a video. So here we are. This is lesson 7.6. I think it was 7.6. And see, this is what we're dealing with today. Basically, it's the same format, but as you can see from all of these, there's going to be a number in front of the x squared terms. We call these a greater than 1 problems, or a problems. The other ones would just be x squared to begin. Wouldn't have, but we know there's a 1 there. All right. So when you see this, when you see a number in front of that x squared, you got to think a little bit different. They're not as easy as the ones that we did last week. I can't just say, hey, well, multiplies to be this and adds to be this, and it doesn't work like that. That's a part of what we're going to be doing, but it's not the whole thing, all right? Because this throws everything off. First off, we're going to try to defuse this bomb, is what we're going to try to do here. So yesterday you learned about GCFs, and we talked about GCFs. So the first thing I want you to do on any one of these problems is I want you to see, is there a GCF? Is there something that goes into all 3 terms? By now you've figured it out. What goes into all 3 of these terms? Yeah, 5. So my GCF is 5. I'm factoring out 5. The video alluded, you can kind of think about that as dividing by 5 for each one of them. So I'm factoring out 5. If I do that, I have x squared plus 3x plus 2. And I refer to this as defusing the bomb, because now if I look at what's inside this parentheses, it no longer is a hard problem. Now this is an easy problem. This is something that I can do in my head. This is a multiply add problem. What multiplies to be 2 and adds to be 3? Well, that's 2 and 1. So now I can take this and break it down to x plus 2, x plus 1. When you do this, you have to include the GCF in your answer. So the first thing that we want to check for is, can we diffuse this situation? Can we factor out a GCF and turn this into an easy multiply add problem so it factors, and we can do that in our head? So that's our first option. So take a look at number 2. Can I diffuse this bomb? Is there a GCF that's going to take care of my problem? Is there something that goes into all 3 terms? Sure. 4 is my GCF. Now, I've got an MA problem, a multiply add problem. What multiplies to 15 and adds to 8? Certainly. Don't forget, you have to write your GCF out front. So that's our first option. Our first option we're going to try every time. We're going to try to factor out and diffuse the bomb and not have to deal with it. Option number 2. Is there a GCF? 2 goes into both of them, but that's not what GCF means. GCF means all of them, so no GCF. All right, cool. Now I've got to put in some work. So I'm going to show you this with the area method first, okay? You take the first term, because we know that's going to go there. We take the last term, because we know that's going to go there, okay? Pause that thought for a second. Remember back to when we did these with the area problems. We had an x squared here, we had a 15 here, and we would multiply the 15 and add to the middle number. So we knew these 2 numbers added up to 8 and multiplied to 15. So this would be 3x and 5x. And that's great for the numbers, but the letters don't match up. Well, I left out one step. These multiply to be 15x squared, but this is just 15. I need to think about it as those. If we include this first square, the diagonals multiply to be the same number. And that always works. And that's how we figured it out before. So now we're going to use that to our advantage. My multiply number on these hard problems is not just the number in this box. I have to multiply these two together to get my multiply number. The add number is still this middle. So my multiply number is 12x squared, my add number is 7x. What multiplies to be 12x squared and adds to be 7x? Well, if I think about just the numbers here, I know it's 3 and 4, so I know it's 3x and 4x. Those add up to be 7x and multiply to be 12x squared. I'll pause the video and ask questions. All right, put these in here. And now I just do the GCF stuff. What is the GCF of these two? What is the GCF of these two? Watch your variables. What's the GCF here? What's the GCF here? So just like in the other one, the answer is the length and the width. Questions? Let's do it again. First number goes in the first box. The last number goes in the last box. What a horrible example. So this multiplies to be what? What add number am I looking for? What are my magic numbers? Put them in the box and go to work with your GCFs. We talked about signs before. I know if these are both negative, then I know these are going to be my negative answers. So, what's the GCF here? GCF here. Coming up, what do these two have in common? What do these two have in common? Yeah, nothing. But if nothing can't be an answer, so this has to be a 1, and we already talked about with the signs that these two had to be negative, so that's a -1. Now, once you get this done, and we've talked about this, double check. Don't just assume you did everything right. Do these actually multiply to be this? Yep. 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 Yeah, they all work. All right, double check. And then you write your binomial as your answer. Do number 5 on your own. Is there a GCF? No. So it multiplies to 24x squared, add the -14x. Again, if you're stuck with this, okay, pay attention to your signs. Multiplies to a positive, adds to a negative, so I know it's got to be minus minus. Start running through. How can I multiply to be 24? 1 and 24, 2 and 12. Ding, 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 found it. Good. So by paying attention to signs and starting an organized list, I found my answer pretty quick. GCF, the bottom. Now again, pay attention to your signs. I know those are both going to be negative. So my GCF here is -2. That's the positive 3x. That's just an x. That's a -4. Answer. All right. Questions? Okay. If this is a negative, you have to do a GCF first, and in this case the GCF is -1. Remember, if I factor out a negative, that's going to change my signs for everything in that parentheses, okay? Remember, GCF is like reverse distribution. If I would distribute those, I'd be right back at the original problem. So I did a GCF just like at the beginning, but I didn't defuse the bomb. Still got a big problem here. Okay, deal with it. Just do it. Okay? First things first, last things last. What's my multiply number? What's my add number? What does that? What multiplies to be -6 and adds to be +5? So I know it multiplies to be 5, so that's going to give me, there's only a couple ways I can multiply to be 5. Some of you are thinking 2s and 3s here, aren't you? You are, I know you are, but my multiply number is 5. I can only do that with -1 and -5. All right? So -1m minus 5m. Again, signs, got to be negative. That's a 1, that's a 5m, that's an m, that's a 1. Double check, does it work? Yes, 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 yes. I've got my right answer. And don't forget, we did a GCF in the beginning. I can't tell you how many people forget their GCF when they're writing their final answer, and they lose points. All right, boys and girls, we're going to spend another day on this in case it's still not quite there for you. Good luck, ask questions, get to work.